Hi guys, time for art lesson number 5. And today we're going to switch it up a little bit. I have my oil pastels. And if you don't have oil pastels, you could use color crayons, and we'll give you a little demonstration of that too. So I'm going to do it kind of two ways, or you could even do colored pencils. Obviously, I will not be needing my favorite piece of equipment here, my pencil sharpener. So I'm going to move that aside. With oil pastels, what you might have to do, you can see that these are used, and I kind of like to use things sort of until I can't use them anymore. So I can peel this down. When we do oil pastels, I always like to, and pretty much any drawing I do that I think I'm going to keep, I like to do a border or a frame. And those of you that are my students all know about, I'm kind of a nut about borders and frames. And the reason is, you don't need a ruler, but you could use a ruler if you wanted. The lines don't have to be straight. They could be wiggly, however you want to do it. But the whole idea is the main part of your picture is going to be on the inside, so that if you ever wanted to put it inside a frame, none of the good parts will get covered up. Plus, your brain works a little bit better when it kind of knows what space it's going to be working in. So if you don't have colored paper or construction paper to draw on, we've done this before, go back to your recycle bin or wherever you keep them and find an old paper bag. And it's this surface is really, really nice to work with. I've got a pair of scissors here, and if you kind of fold it like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the bottom part off, go in from one side and then come back and go in from the other side. And it's okay if it gets wrinkled. We're going to probably do other things with paper bags. So once you have the bottom off, however you want to cut it, you don't have to cut it like I'm doing, but what I want to do basically is have it just sort of turn into usable paper. Oops. I could have the whole thing and make a great big picture if I wanted, or I could cut it up like this into two pieces. If I'm going, that might be a little bit big, I can just slice off the sides like this. Okay, so now we've got the same thing here. I'm still going to do a border like this. It kind of helps when you're working with oil pastels. If you're doing a line like this, if you pull it towards you, okay, that kind of gives you a lot of control, okay? And your lines don't have to be perfectly straight, but there you have, there's two things that we can use to make this. And we're going to go ahead and start. So part of our technique for doing this is to put a border or a frame around it. And again, you don't have to, it's just something I find really useful. Remember, you're the artist, so you design it however you want to be. I'm going to show you, some of you that have not done oil pastels before, some of the techniques, or remind you of some of the techniques we use. Outlining in white is something I like to do, and this next one we're going to be doing some mountains, so I'm just going to do a quick little mountain here with a little snow on the top, just to kind of show you how we do this. And I think I'm going to have my mountain be maybe a little blue-green. And one of the things I like to do with oil pastels is I really like to just layer it in really, really thickly. You don't have to do that. Everybody will kind of come to their own sort of technique with oil pastels. There is no right or wrong way to do it. One of the things I really like doing, and a lot of you that know me, we're going to do some blending like this, and you just take your finger. You got to hold your paper pretty tight so it doesn't go all over the table. And just use your finger, which will be, at this point, kind of blue-green, which is fun. And then I'm going to come back in, maybe, and then really kind of beef up that white a little bit. So that's sort of an idea on how to do a mountain. Your mountain doesn't have to be a traditional color. It could be any color you wanted it to be. Another technique, if I'm going to use a yellow or an orange on dark paper, this doesn't apply to white paper, but on dark paper, look at the difference. Here's my orange without white underneath it, and here's my orange with white underneath it. Or I could do the orange first and then put the white over it, and then come back in with the orange again. You're going to kind of figure out your own techniques. Yellow is another one of those colors where you're going to really need, see the yellow there? But if you have white underneath it, now look at the yellow. So that's a little technique there. If I'm doing something with oil pastels, say I do my mountain again, and like this, and I did a line I didn't want to do, all I have to do with the white oil pastel is kind of come in like that. If I don't want very much snow on the top, I'm not going to do that. It's a little steeper mountain. I'm going to come in with a different color for that mountain. I'm going to make that mountain, oh, let's see. Let's make that mountain purple. So, and even though this is purple paper, I'm going to come back in. Look at, I went right over that area I wasn't so happy with. And maybe you can see a little bit of it, but it kind of adds a little bit of character. So there's that technique. Another technique is to take your oil pastel, say I'm doing grass or a meadow, and I'm going to pick some colors here. And they don't have to be grass or meadow colors. I'm going to take a sort of a little light brown and a green, and golly, maybe I'll do a little blue there. And so what I'll start doing is I'll come in like this. It's kind of a fun way to do grass for your meadow. And then I might come in with that other color and sort of go over that. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's going to kind of surprise you what we're going to do with that. There's sort of three colors. There's some orange I added in there. And then I'm going to come back in with the white. And so that's going to kind of make my grass sort of stand out a little bit. I can come back in once I have that base with a darker color and maybe add that to it. A lot of this is for you to kind of explore, come up with your own techniques. These are just basic ones that I use, and I'm sure you're going to come up with something even better. So we're going to go on to do the final drawing right now. So to start out our mountain picture, or landscape, I guess that's a word I probably should have used at the beginning, but I didn't. Let's do a horizontal line, which is a line that just goes across your paper like this. I'm going to do it a couple times in white. Remember, we're using white. It's my favorite way to outline with oil pastels because it's really fun to do oil pastels on darker paper. So your line could be anywhere you want it to be. Mine's almost to the middle, but it could be any way you want. Now I'm going to do a mountain range, and all that is kind of some bumps and just pulling your oil pastel across like that. I'm left-handed, so I'm going this way. If you were right-handed, you'd be going probably the other way. I'm going to kind of make this look like Mount Si. It's a really nice mountain in the beautiful Cascade Range where we live out here. I'm going to have a little bit of snow on the top. Just this time of year, maybe there's a touch. It's beginning to melt. So I'm going to add that there. And I'm going to start in on my sky. I'm going from top to bottom. But once you've seen this, you can go from bottom to top, or you can skip all over the page, do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. Your sky does not necessarily have to be blue or gray. In fact, I think I'm going to make my sky a purple and pink sky. So I like to do my skies darker at the top. And again, you see my technique. I am just really layering in, got to hold your paper down. I'm layering in pretty thickly my oil pastel. It's almost like painting without a brush. I guess that's probably the best way to explain it. We do a lot of these in my art class. Oil pastels seem to be really popular, and I just love them. And it's colorful, and it's fun to do a little something with color. So I'm going to do my sky pink and purple, but yours could be blue. It could be dark. Do dark blue at the top and lighter blue as you get down there. Remember, you can lighten your colors too by putting on white over them. And again, I'm just layering this in like this. And oh my gosh, isn't that kind of fun? And I'm going to come back in again and do blending. Your finger is just, look at, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Just blending. And I'm going to come back in, just kind of go over my white a little bit. And again, no rush on this. You're just kind of enjoying drawing and doing oil pastels. So now what color am I going to, I think I'm going to go back. I really like that color that I made my mountain before when we were kind of doing our little demonstration. And so I'm going to fill this in nice and solid. There's just something so fun to have this big blank piece of paper and be able to turn it into something. And we're going to be doing some other things with oil pastels too that I'll show you how to do. But don't feel like you have to do exactly what I'm doing. I hope all of yours turn out looking different. And this is one way where Miss Trese will actually use erasers. Look at how that really blends things in. If you don't have a big old eraser like this, you could use an eraser that's stuck on the back of a pencil if you wanted. But you see how this really helps me blend. So there's that. You can still see a little bit of purple. And look, I got some other colors got stuck in here, and it just adds to my painting or my drawing. It's kind of like painting. Now I'm going to do my meadow. And remember the technique we did with that? It's another kind of scribble technique. I'm going to come in here. I can go like this. I'm just going to do a bunch of lines like this. And I'm going to have my grass in my meadow go up a little bit so it feels like I'm in the meadow. And I'm leaning my grass a little bit. Do you remember when we did the tree that was leaning? I just kind of like the character it gives something, but if you want to go straight up and down, you can do that. If you want to lean the other way, if you want to have it go a whole bunch of different directions, if you have a different pattern you would like to use, that is just absolutely wonderful. I tend to press pretty hard using my oil pastels, and I know there's other people that go a little bit lighter, and that's fine too. It's going to give you a completely different look. I've got some examples that maybe we can see that other students did that we could maybe put up at towards the end of this video. So we're going to come in with another color. I'm using that sort of light brown, but you could actually have a pink meadow, a light brown mountain, and a purple sky, however you want to do that. So I'm continuing to kind of put the color in. Look how that's looking. That's kind of fun. I might even add, just for fun, a little dark glue to that grass in certain areas, just to kind of give it a little bit of variety. And notice that my mountain isn't exactly in the middle of the picture. It's kind of a little bit to the side. If you want to make it more in the middle, you can. I sort of like things that are kind of a little off-center just for variety. And gosh, I'm just having fun just finding all sorts of colors to put in my meadow. You could do it solid too, like the mountain if you wanted. Just the whole idea is to really enjoy doing your art. Okay, I'm going to come back in now. My final one, I think I'm going to do a little bit of white over it. Add a little bit of pink, just because it was there. And not necessarily all even, just to kind of make it a little bit more interesting. And what I also might do is I might just add just a few little touches of white like that, just to kind of add maybe a little variety to it. Maybe like there's something going on in the meadow here. You could do snow over it. You could make the whole thing snow. You could add some wind to it. What I might do is out here, the far end, maybe further away, add some Y trees in the background, and maybe add a little bit of those scribbly lines for some trees in the background. Looks like the wind's blowing, the trees are leaning, and the grass is waving. Here's how it looks on the paper bag, and it's a little different effect, but you still have the same character and feel of the oil pastels. Notice I did a pink mountain, Again, if you want to make yours look more real, you're absolutely welcome to do that. It's your choice. Here's an example by one of my students a while back. Notice how the trees are pretty prominent in this picture. They weren't tiny and far away. So this was his interpretation of our lesson. Here's another one. Same thing. Look at everybody's is different, but we're still drawing the same thing. And beautiful, absolutely beautiful result. Enjoy doing art until I get the next lesson done. See if you can get a grown-up to draw along with you. Take care, and I will see you soon. You better not be filming this.
Definitely not filming this.